I'm Collins, and I got a request to introduce and to bring in our speaker, Sobha, who's currently a vice president for diversity, equity, and inclusion at the YMCA of the Triangle. Bill called me, and as a former board member for us, Bill knows that we put kind of significant effort in the last several years into really understanding more deeply what diversity, equity, inclusion means, what kind of actions we can take, and how the Y can be a resource. Personally, a lot of this work is focused around racial equity. And I personally recognize and have continued to recognize I have a significant knowledge gap as it relates specifically to racial equity in our country. Our Y recognized that institutionally, we had a pretty significant knowledge gap. And so a lot of Yo's work and a lot of our work as a Y is being directed to trying to fill that gap with a full understanding of what that looks like so that we can be even better for all, which is the last two words, very important in our mission statement. So we got a quick request to do a short presentation as a resource in our community on Juneteenth. And Yo is going to do a quick presentation on that for us today. So Yo,
thank you. Well, thanks. I like following this young man either. He's very well spoken and had it all ready to go. So I hope I'm half as eloquent as you were in that as well. So welcome and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. As John said, I'm Sobha, the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion with our YMCA of the Triangle. And I do want to start out by saying I have a knowledge gap as well. Although I've been doing this work around racial equity and equity work for probably the past 15 plus years, I still recognize that I don't know it all. And I have approached this work, and I hope that you will join me in this, but I have approached this work from a lifelong learning perspective as well. And approach life that way as well, but especially this work because it's important for us to do that as well. So as I'm getting ready, and John asked me to do this, and I'm getting ready for this, and I'm thinking, well, anytime I come into a group and I want to talk to them about something, I want to figure out what's the connection, right? What is the connection? I'm getting ready to talk about Juneteenth, but what is the connection to Rotary, right? Because you guys want a return on investment in some of this, you want some sort of connection. So I looked up your mission, I looked up a lot of other documents around Rotary and learned a lot, by the way, which was great. But I landed here on the four-way test. And first, is it the truth? Is it fair to all? Will it be goodwill? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And so I'm going to start this. It's about Juneteenth, but I'm going to start this by making some of those connections. So is it the truth? Yes. This information about Juneteenth, it's national history. It's our history, right? It is our history and it is accurate. And so I want to bring that to light that we're going to talk about some history today. Is it fair to all concerned? Yes. It helps us have a better understanding of our Black community. It helps us have a better understanding of history. It helps us create a more welcoming environment for all as well, right? I walked in today, my friend John Collins, I'm not throwing you under the bus, he wasn't here to greet me this morning. I'm just saying, he was not here to greet me, but my friend Darren over there and Pat stood up from her table, walked over and was like, come sit with us. So it was so welcoming, but this and conversations like this help us become more welcoming as well. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Yes. When you show someone you care about them by taking time to learn about the things that matter to them, when you take time to learn about their culture, their history, this helps build stronger relationships. This helps build common connections, right? These are the things that build goodwill and better friendships. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Yes. As I went through and started learning about Juneteenth myself, And over the past several years, learning more and more about Juneteenth, I've been able to have great, deep conversations with people and ask questions. And I wanted to come into those settings as a listener, as a learner, and asking, what does this holiday mean to you? Why? Why does it mean so much? What does it mean to your history? How does that show up in your life, right? Those are things because I wanted to learn about people as well. So it makes those connections that I was talking about, gives us some shared understanding and perspective. And those are super exciting things that really benefit us all as we're concerned. Now, what is this not doing, right? What is this not doing? This is not saying that if you've never heard of Juneteenth, that you're a bad person. This is not saying that if you've never heard of Juneteenth or you don't know a lot about Juneteenth, it is not saying that you don't know history, you're terrible, or anything like that, right? It's not saying that if you're not Black or don't know about Juneteenth, you're bad. It's just saying we are all in that space to learn, right? We're all in space to learn. I'm still learning new things about this holiday and other things as well. So what is Juneteenth? Juneteenth is also known as Freedom Day. It's the oldest national commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. Juneteenth derives its name from the combination of June and 19th, because it's June 19th is the day. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed on January 1st, 1863. And most of us have heard about it, understand and know that. But it took 2.5 years for the slaves in the state of Texas to learn that they were free. 2.5 years. On June 19th, 1865, Union troops arrived in Galveston Bay, Texas, to announce that an executive decree had freed the more than 250,000 enslaved Black people in that state. The decree says, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former master and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired laborer. In 1866, and I did not know this, freedmen in Texas organized the first of what became the annual celebration of Jubilee Day on June 19th, or Juneteenth was the start of Juneteenth. Over the years, Juneteenth commemorations featured parades, music, barbecues, prayer services, family gatherings, and other activities. As Black people migrated from Texas to other parts of the country, the Juneteenth tradition spread. In 2021, so this starts in 1865, first started celebration in 1866. Well, actually the process starts in 1863. All men are freed in 1865. In 1866 is the first celebration. In 2021, a bill was passed making Juneteenth a federal holiday. It's a long time coming, but exciting that we are still making progress. We are still, as a nation, learning and growing and making progress. The significance of Juneteenth colors. The Juneteenth colors are red, green, and black. Red stands for the blood that millions of enslaved people and Africans shed. Black stands for the rich Black culture, and green represents fertility, hope, new life, productivity, independence, and prosperity. I hope we can all remember this important day and commemorate the historical African-American heroes and the end of slavery in our nation. But I always like to leave a talk like this with a challenge. I want to make sure we're making connections at the beginning and always want to leave with a challenge. One of the best ways to learn is to get proximate. I talk about this all the time, especially in equity work, right? It's hard to have an understanding of perspective and understanding of people if we're not actually proximate to them. And so one of the best ways to learn is to get proximate. to what you're trying to learn. And there's a number of events in our YMCA, within our Y, or in our communities around us that raise awareness on Juneteenth significance. So I want to challenge us all. They're designed to support a reckoning of our shared national history, right? It's our shared national history. We can't move forward until we have an understanding of our history, right? So I challenge us all to get proximate by going to www.ymcattriangle.org/remembering-Juneteenth. I know you'll never remember that, but John will have that. And find an event that will that you can take part in. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Yo. I especially appreciate the challenge of trying to, and the opportunity of trying to fill our knowledge gap and creating that proximity as we seek to, we talked about being the friendliest club in District 7710, and part of that is being as welcoming as we can be. So thank you for sharing your time and knowledge with us today. With that, can I ask Dr. Charlie Mann to come forward and introduce our program speaker today? Dr. Mann.
Okay. It's a pleasure to introduce the speaker. As my job is the person to introduce him. This is about Alliance Medical Ministry. That's what we're talking about today. And Pete Tannenbaum is the executive director. But I understand Rotary is share the story. That's what we're encouraged to do. So I'm going to share a story, two stories. So the first story was here in this room. We had a speaker that we invited to start a conversation about healthcare. Woo! It was brutal. And what was brutal, a lot of it was true. Because if you end up going to the emergency room, look out. If you try to find a family doctor, look out. If you get sick, look out. There you got a problem. Because he came from the insurance side, so he shared his story, and it was truthful, brutal, but he didn't come up with any answers. And so I squirmed in my seat because I heard him talking and say, medicine is abysmal. Well, I've been doing it. I'm going to be 50 years. I'm going to be doing it. So if it's abysmal, this is not the side I saw. So I wanted to share. First message is that your health is your responsibility. I mean, you want to stay out of the emergency room, and every day you do things to keep yourself healthy. And if something's keeping you from it, you need to look into it and get some help. That's the first rule. The second rule, and healthcare is fine. I mean, I just had venture to the emergency room with my elbow, and it was phenomenal. The experience I'm back ready for golf, and so I could attest that it's superb. But the other answer is Alliance Medical Ministry, which he didn't bring up and he wasn't aware of. He was from Greensboro. Pete's from Greensboro, so he can, and I appreciate him stimulating the conversation. But it was about 20 years ago, I was in this cavernous meeting in San Francisco. If you've ever been to a meeting, a national meeting, they have phenomenal AV, but they had 1,000 seats. And there must have been maybe 20 people in the room, and he was talking, it was reverberating through it. And his name was G. Scott Morris. And I was having my lunch and going over my calendar and trying to figure out where I was going to have supper that night. And I heard this guy talking. He said, "We're from Memphis and we've got a church health clinic." I said, "What is a church health clinic?" He's a minister, he's an MD, and he set up a clinic for uninsured, not the poor solely, but uninsured people. you have to pay chit. That's what you earn per hour. That's the fee you pay, and everything is covered if you go to Memphis Church Health Center. Well, something that's, I said, gosh, we can do that. That's not something that's impossible. So, that's all I said about it. I mean, and we got back to Cary, and we had a Sunday school class, strong Sunday school class at First Methodist Church, and Jack Stone and David Wilson, Sean Harrison, and we're all members of that group, Sunday school group. And Jack was at the point sharing that he was getting kicked out after 22 years at UNC Personnel Department. And he didn't know what he's going to do. Now, if you ever know Jack Stone, he's a unique person. And he said, I said, Jack, I know what you can do. I said, you can set up a clinic here. So I called this guy, G. Scott Morris. And in the mail came all these brochures, how to do a church health center. And by gosh, for the faith journey, and I think of Howard Manning when I say that, but all of a sudden I came to this group and presented that. Ralph was sitting there. And I got 6 checks for $1,000 that day. We were off and running. So fast forward, we're now 20 years from that point. We found an executive director who's an attorney with investment banking experience and interested in nonprofits. Nonprofits is big. Our children are going to school now to study nonprofits. We're 20 years later, and I'm so proud of what this gentleman has done for us. I'd like him to tell us what the progress is 20 years later.
Thank you, Dr. Mann. That's awfully nice. And thank you, because you're the reason I have my job. Alliance was started by a group from Cary, North Carolina, and it is based on Church Health, which is a really large organization in Memphis. I also recognize several friends of Alliance here. Ernie Faulkner has been a longtime friend and supporter of Alliance, and Brian Reed and Town Bank are also very strong supporters of us in our mission. Our mission is to provide comprehensive primary medical care to working uninsured adults in Wake County. We provide primary health care, but we approach it a little bit differently. We have a holistic approach. We take care of the working poor of Wake County. Painters, carpenters, cleaners, cooks, people that you see every day. They don't qualify for Medicaid or Medicare. They can't afford insurance. Their employer doesn't provide insurance. Average patient at Alliance lives at 158% of the federal poverty level. They make $36,000 a year for a family of 3 to 4 people. It is the working poor. They live paycheck to paycheck. We see it every single day. We charge our patients a fee. We think that's really important, that our patients have some skin in the game, that they're vested in their health. North Carolina, the Triangle in particular, has some of the best healthcare in the world between Duke and Chapel Hill. It's amazing. Wake County has more than 115,000 people that do not have insurance, do not have access to Medicaid, Medicare. The pandemic really changed things as employment numbers went up and down. People lost their health care. People started working in different ways. So we think that the actual numbers of uninsured in Wake County are significantly higher. For us, our patients come from hospital emergency rooms. They go to the emergency room with typically a chronic medical condition, typically diabetes or problems related to hypertension or obesity. They have no health care insurance. They're treated in the emergency room. They don't have a primary medical home. They're referred to Alliance, and we become their primary medical, and we take care of them. And they have treatable diseases. About 50% of our patients are either diabetic or pre-diabetic, 50% are obese, and 40% are hypertensive. Our patients represent a wide segment of our community. 56% are Latino, 26% are African American. Because we don't have to deal with Medicaid, insurance, or even billing, we can provide really great medical care to the most underserved populations in Wake County. And our goal is to keep them healthy, to keep them out of the emergency room, which is a drain on the system. And we saw that with COVID, how overwhelmed all of the hospitals were. When somebody becomes a patient at Alliance, and our patients have stayed with us for 10, 15 years, it's a relationship. They're assigned to one of our 5 medical providers. A trust relationship is built. Because we don't bill, because we don't take insurance, our providers are under no obligation to see somebody in a 15 to 16 minute time period. Our patients have complex medical problems. A lot of them have language problems. They can't communicate. And it takes a long time to see a patient like that. And we're able to do that because we are not on the clock. We don't do this alone. We have a staff full-time of about 26 people, including 5 providers. We have a lot of partners and collaborators like Dr. Mann, who has volunteered with Alliance for many years. We have cardiologists, physical therapists, 2 endocrinologists, a psychiatrist, orthopedists that come in. We provide more than 13,000 touches to our patients in a year. And we think our holistic approach, which is body, mind, and spirit, is really embraced in those 13,000 visits. We have a full-time social worker. We know that about 80% of a person's health concerns their social situation, interpersonal violence, food insecurity, housing. All of those things impact your health. We have 2 mental health counselors. That's been a really big deal in the pandemic because regardless of your net worth, everybody has suffered throughout this pandemic. We also partner with Rex, and they bring a mammogram bus once a month to see our patients. We partner with Project Access, which is funded by the Duke Endowment, which allows us to send our patients to specialty surgeons in specialty care through Duke and UNC. We refer people to a free dental clinic. There's a strong connection between diabetes and oral health. Last year, we gave away $6.2 million in free medication to our patients, primarily insulin, life-saving medication that these folks would not have access to otherwise. Finally, we believe in preventative care. We have a farm and we grow vegetables and we teach wellness classes, yoga, Zumba. We teach cooking classes. We partner with the Interfaith Food Shuttle to teach people to eat healthier. Ernie and I were talking about food deserts. Alliance is located down the street from Wake Med, and we're right in the middle of a food desert. When you're coming off 3rd shift, it's a lot easier to stop and get the double cheeseburger than it is to go home and eat something healthy. We believe in the trickle-down effect of healthier food and habits, and we think that that breaks cycles of diabetes and hypertension. So Alliance, we do a lot in the community. We're supported philanthropically. We don't accept patient fees. So wanted to really, the best way to understand Alliance is to see it through the eyes of our patients and our providers. And we have short video that we're going to play. And after that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I came here when the clinic first opened, January 6, 2013, and was one of 2 part-time providers. We had a staff of 3, provider, a nurse, and a part-time front desk receptionist. I've been able to watch Alliance grow, have seen wonderful things happen, and am very proud to be a part of the great organization it is today.
AMM is means a lot in terms of its ability and its intent to serve the local population that doesn't have insurance.
The emphasis on care to patients without insurance, so really kind of providing a safety net for people without resources.
I saw a patient earlier today who was injured in a car crash about 4 years ago and had some therapy and then just couldn't continue because she didn't have the funds to do that. And so for someone like her, Alliance has been just a godsend that allowed her to continue to care, the care she needed, continue to get well in a situation where she didn't have resource.
I was rolling along just fine 8 years ago. Had a great job, the wife had a good job, we had insurance, we were just moving great. I changed careers to a job that didn't have health insurance, but it was a better fit financially for what we needed, wanted, and at that time. My wife picked me up on her insurance plan, we're rolling along, things are just fine. Her company downsizes, she loses her job, I lose my insurance, nobody's covered. And that's when I had the issue with my high blood pressure. And if it wasn't for Alliance, who knows how I would have addressed that.
Alliance Medical Ministry being a primary care provider that has comprehensive health services to include wellness programs, of course us as primary care providers, a nursing staff, social worker, other resources that patients sometimes don't even get at paid for health systems, and we're able to help them and keep them out of the emergency room and healthier in the long run.
I really enjoy being able to establish relationships with patients. Many of my patients I've seen 5, 10, 15, some almost 20 years, and we're able at Alliance to kind of go on a healthcare journey together.
Here at Alliance, we take care of Mr. Jones as the whole person, not only a physical being, but a spiritual being, an emotional being.
There's also all the wellness programs that we have here. There's the yoga, there's the Zumba, there's the community step programs that we do. And sometimes the providers are able to participate so that we can walk the walk and talk the talk along with our patients, which I think is a really neat opportunity.
A number of patients without a lot of resource, they can still access medical care, they can access PT, they can access nursing care, they can access drugs, even the community garden.
It's really nice when you can find a patient that does have a food insecurity that you can give fresh vegetables from the garden. You can invite them to a cooking class to learn new and fun ways to cook the vegetables. If available, you might be able to give them a gift card to a local grocery store and or a food pantry. So addressing these things at the clinic visit with screenings and some sort of plan is very important.
We also have behavioral health that we are fully integrated with here, and there's not a week that goes by that I'm not walking into one of our social workers' offices or one of the therapists' office to consult or try to seek some support for our patients.
Alliance has impacted my life in an amazing way. They definitely helped me at a very trying time. I live with family members who live with severe mental illnesses and some that just have mental illnesses. And it began to be a very overwhelming for me of trying to juggle working in community and being a mother, and at the time being a wife. And so I really felt overwhelmed. I felt like giving up, and hopelessness was sitting in, and even contemplated suicide at one point. And so I spoke with Dr. Joyner one day when I came in from my regular health needs, and I began to tell her confidently how I felt. And she says, I want you to meet our pastoral care, Toby. And I tell you, she got me an appointment right away to see Toby before I left. And immediately, it was exactly what I needed. And he allowed me to let out a lot of things that I was going through, release the pressure, found a way to realize that suicide definitely was not the answer, allowed me to find balance in my life.
We get to care for these folks and hopefully by doing so prevent them from, one, having more illness, and two, having to use other aspects of the health system that are more expensive, such as the emergency rooms, urgent care centers, and so forth.
I have a gentleman who is in his 40s who is diabetic, and he had an amputation of some part of his foot, and he was coming to see me at the hospital. And when he arrived at the front desk of the hospital, they asked him, would you be interested in paying any of your $600,000 medical bill? And what had happened was he had no clinic to get medication from. He had no way to get care. He didn't have enough money to pay for the care. And so what would happen is he'd just get sick with an infection and he'd get admitted to the hospital. And then the infection would stress his heart, and then he got a heart bypass. And this sequence just went on. It had gone on for about 2 years by the time I met him. And when I met him, I said, hey, you know, we're going to try and change this cycle. We're going to get you shoes and orthotics that will protect your feet and keep you from getting the infections that are bringing you to the hospital. And when you have a problem, instead of going to the hospital, you're going to come here to see me because it won't cost you money. And in essence, in a year, we turned all of that around. But that is a typical patient, and of course he had no way of paying a $600,000 hospital bill. But that's the difference we can make, is instead of spending all that money on getting admitted emergently to the hospital, we can see him regularly in clinic here and get him the things that he needs, and he doesn't even have to be in the hospital at all.
In a lot of ways, they're not different than me. They have a job, they go to work every day, they have families to raise, bills to pay, but a big difference is they don't have health insurance. And not having health insurance is a huge obstacle to getting to where they need to be.
Most of my patients are working patients. For example, painters, construction workers. I have a cleaning lady. I have a chef who's on the schedule today. I have just people that do normal jobs every day and that don't make enough money to afford health insurance, but make too much money to qualify for a government program that would help. And so I find this clinic here is a place where we can really make a big difference, and I feel like the things we do go a long way.
I believe that Alliance Medical Ministry is a place to invest in. It is definitely worth your time, your talents, and your investment.
It's important to have this out there for the people who need it, who work and deserve to have health coverage, but for whatever reason don't have that health coverage, because it happened to me. It can happen to me when I thought everything was perfect. It can happen again.
I find that Alliance Medical Clinic fills a very important and present gap for patient care. And so there is this group of patients who are in really every city and every state, but who don't qualify to get health care from other places, and they often are in desperate need. And so I like volunteering here because the people who work here recognize that, and they understand that we can change that, at least for this group of patients.
We have a hard stop at 1:30. Happy to answer any questions you might have about Alliance.
How about your budget? How you get it?
So we fundraise. About $100,000 of our $3 million budget comes from patient fees, and then we fundraise from individuals, from foundations, from corporate groups, individuals, congregations throughout the community.
Do all your patients come through emergency room or somebody being recommended to the clinic?
So we will take patients from anybody that qualifies to be a patient at Alliance, working, living in Wake County, uninsured, we will see them. The majority of our patients do come from the Wake Med ER or Duke's ER, but yes, we'll accept them through partners. Catholic Parish Outreach sends us patients. Step Up Ministry sends us patients. We want to collaborate with the Y, and that's something that we've talked about as well.
Do you have people that roll off of the support that you offer? Or?
We do,
Okay.
and people's life situation changes. They might qualify for a federal program. They might get insurance through their employer, in which case they would leave, and we have a wait list of a lot of people that are ready to take that spot.
I've heard some clinics that like to get some insured patients because it gives them some revenue, but I'm curious to say you don't really take anybody.
We no insurance, and that's a different model. So we no federal funding, no insurance funding.
With the whole person concept, what about family care? I didn't see any pediatrician patients in your presentation. What, of course, they're not working.
So we only see adults. Children can be seen through Medicaid.
Okay.
So there's not a place for that at Alliance.
Okay.
Because they're taken care of. Well, thank you all very much. My dad was Rotarian for 50 years, and I used to really enjoy going to his meetings as a guest, and it's a great organization. So thank you for what you do for our community.
Thank you, Pete. Really appreciate your being with us, and what a very powerful message. You know, I'm reminded, serve to change lives. And that's certainly something that you and your group are doing. So thank you so much for that. The note cards that Aiden presented to you are representative of our thanks to you. They were actually drawn by a member of this club, Jerry Miller, very well-known artist here in Cary. And so we hope that you'll enjoy those as a remembrance of being with us. I know I'll remember your presentation here today, so thank you for being with us. As we quickly transition, I note our Sergeant at Arms is with us. I don't know, Brian, if you've got a minute or two to share some observations.
If you just want me to go a minute or two, I'll be glad to go a minute or two. We will start with last is best. I thought this was beautiful. This is beautiful, and it's creative. So this is a creative award. So if everybody knows our great member Neil was near the end, I would say near the end. He goes, I wasn't late. I'm just early for the next meeting. Take something, spins it in something beautiful there. The next award is going to be, Rockin' Renee Spell. Listen to the music. Doobie Brothers this past weekend. Yes. Yes. It was awesome. She was there. She was singing perfectly in tune. Perfectly in tune. I know, you were not on stage. Security didn't have to escort you off, but it looks like you're having.
Share a little with us there,
Which
Lee.
was awesome. And that is so beautiful. This is John Collins. My guest beat me to the meeting award. Yes, John, so good. I thank you for your guest. Wonderful talk there. And your guest beat you out the door. So
That he did.
so and Pete, wonderful. And obviously he was dressed for the occasion. But think about the 100 degrees out there today. Think about the 100 degrees. And he's got a blue shirt. For any man that's ever worn a blue shirt on a 100-degree day, woo! I mean, it's just so great. He's so great there. And for all our bearded men, first of all, for all our bearded men, it's only 100 out there, folks. So you're just so brave and so strong. And then last, we're going to have Tim Mannix, a wonderful, actually a great tribute to someone that's family. I'll give you, let you miracle moment. Finish this up.
Miracle moment. I was down in Knoxville, Tennessee this past weekend. My niece was inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. It was a fascinating weekend, a fascinating presentation and everything. It was really great. And she had 101 people there. Just for her. She had people from her high school class, her college class. She's been broadcasting basketball and everything for about 35 years. So she had people from that. She had people from the TV stations who were back talking to us. It was a beautiful weekend. She's a very special lady. Delighted to have been there.
Congratulations, Tim. Congratulations, Tim. And thank you, Sergeant at Arms.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've got a couple of other recognition to do here. I don't know if you noticed, Brian, but we've got a birthday boy with us today. Dr. Tom Brooks. Happy birthday, Dr. Brooks, today. Yay, it's great to have you back. Sal Camerata will celebrate a birthday on the 19th. I guess that's Sunday. And Rod Fitzsimmons on Monday. Happy birthday, Ron. Happy wedding anniversary to Mac and Linda Wooten. I know Mac was online earlier, so congratulations, Mac, to you and Linda. And we've got some Rotarian anniversaries to celebrate. Paul Sossman on the 16th will celebrate 13 years with the Cary Rotary Club. And Saturday on the 18th, Ralph Ashworth and Jerry Miller, founding members of our club, will celebrate 58 years with the Cary Rotary Club. And it struck me listening to Tim talk about his niece and the hundreds of people that were there to support her. And I think back over 58 years and the hundreds and thousands of people that you and Jerry and all Dick Ladd and all the members of this club have impacted in and around our community. It's really fantastic. Thank you for getting this club started. Thank you. We should make room for a speech.
Next story.
Next program, we're going to be, actually, I'm really anxious to hear our next week's program. Paul Carr is going to share a program on the spirit of Wilbur Wright. So I'm looking forward to that. Our meal will be sweet chili glazed boneless chicken thigh with jasmine rice and vegetable medley. So at least the number of words in that lunch make it sound fancy. In 2 weeks, there will be no program. Don't come to McGregor Country Club in 2 weeks because that will be our awards banquet for the year. Renee, do you have anything quickly you want to say about that?
You should have gotten your e-files already. Those of you that have opened them and still pondering, here's your time to just say, yes, I'm coming and bring my people with me. We look forward to seeing everyone at 6 o'clock on the 28th in Crescentwood. And you'll get a reminder, so. We'd like to have you
to have a great time. We're great again to be back together in person and all in one place. So thank you, Renee, for arranging that. Just click the button. It's easy. Want to recognize everyone in the club that participated in the meal packing event at Kirk of Kildare. Mary mentioned that earlier. There were probably 24 Rotarians there across 2 shifts, packaged nearly 100,000 meals. So thank you for all of your work. And there's our involvement in the community. Currently, you received a note from Krista Lemery this week for the rods installation and the district installation banquet. There is a collection of snack foods for school-age children. So thank you. I know some have brought in some of those snacks. You can bring those again next week and we'll get them to that event. So all of that, we had a full program today. Thank you for sticking with it. Sorry we went over just a little bit, but I do want to thank Dick and Dale. Mary, thank you for having you all join us. We're thrilled to have you see what we're all about and hope to continue our conversation around membership. I want to thank John for giving us access to Yo, Kristen for bringing Des and Evan with us. We'll be following your progress and supporting you all the way. You're welcome at any of our meetings. Please come anytime. Thank you, Aiden, for thanking our speaker. Thank you, Pete, for pinch hitting at the last minute for Brittany. Really appreciate the opportunity to get referred up. That's always a great thing. And again, thank you for your inspiring message. So with that, can I ask Bill Fletcher to lead us out on the 4-way test?
Of the things we think, say, and do,
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? We are adjourned.